So before From Software became exclusively known for making the Soul series, they were the guys behind the Armored Core franchise. So when the Xbox didn't do as well in Japan as Microsoft wanted, they enlisted them to make an exclusive mecha game for their system. From Software then took inspiration from Microsoft being an American company and decided to make the most American game possible. According to interviews, this game was developed with the mindset of seeing America through a Japanese lens, with the American ideology being idolized to its endpoint. This resulted in Metal Wolf Chaos being released in 2004, where every punchline is America and freedom. Funny enough though, this game was for years a Japan-exclusive Xbox game. While it was planned to be released in the West, along with multiplayer mode for Xbox Live, these plans were cancelled. It would be confirmed years later that this was due to the game's themes of terrorism, giving publishers some apprehension in a post 9/11 world. Stuck in Japan, the game would exist as a cult classic, gaining a gradual following overseas. This would all change when Devolver Digital offered to help bring it over, and the game finally seen a Western release in 2019. So now that we finally have a chance to play it, what's this game even about? The game takes place after the first quarter of the 21st century, where you play as the 47th President of the United States, Michael Wilson. America is facing a crisis, as their Vice President, Richard Hawke, usurps your presidency in a hostile takeover. In response, you'll don your mech suit and fight back against his forces to save freedom, liberating the country from west to east with the help of your Secretary Jody and the Secret Resistance Forces. This game's plot ranges from fluff to nonsense, but by God do the characters make up for it. Michael Wilson is probably one of the best fictional presidents I've ever seen. Ask him why he does anything, and it's to save freedom. Ask him how he manages to do it, and it's because he's the President of the United States. He's a borderline cartoon caricature, and he's not the only one. Your Secretary Jody will chime in throughout missions with sarcastic comments, as well as give every mission a silly operation name, complete with drumroll. The newscaster Peter McDonald will fly in by helicopter and somehow spin your actions as terrorism, even when you save a city from destruction. But the best character has to be Richard Hawke, who comes across as legitimately insane at times, taunting you at every turn, and having so much fun while doing it. While the story and characters are less complex than a children's cartoon, it's a fun watch to see how it all unfolds. The characters' performances are pretty fun too. This game was done in English even when it was region locked, but the performances are surprisingly well done, or more fittingly, surprisingly well overdone. The music is pretty decent as well, with the general rock theme that occasionally dips into techno and country western. The tracks are generally energetic and suit the game appropriately. Graphically, I think the game looks good considering it's a remastered Xbox game. All the game models look pretty good, and I personally really like the look of the Metal Wolf mech. Menus in the UI are generally nice, though a little underexplained. I will say though, that I really like the propaganda news cutscenes that happen between missions. Speaking of which, Metal Wolf Chaos uses a mission structure, where you pick one out, customize your loadout, and get liberating. Missions primarily consist of fighting enemy soldiers and tanks while destroying designated targets, usually various kinds of towers, that make this game be region locked by 9/11 just a little ironic. But every now and then, you'll have some other kind of objective, or the occasional boss battle. Bosses in this game are generally pretty simple, usually kind of with some gimmick, but being similar enough to regular enemies besides that. To do all this, you'll pilot your presidential mech, wielding a good assortment of weapons. These can range from pistols, to shotguns, to bazookas, to flamethrowers. You have a total of 8 weapon slots to customize as you see fit, 4 on your left and 4 on your right, with some weapons taken 2. You can bring a varied assortment of different tools for different situations, or you can just bring 8 bazookas, each with their own ammo count. This game gives you options. Before each mission, you can upgrade the manufacturer of each weapon type, unlocking higher tiers of whatever you want. This means if you favor a certain weapon type or you don't like another, you can prioritize or ignore them as you wish, at the cost of money and metal. What it doesn't have, surprisingly, is a melee option. There is a stomp move which is very useful, but nothing in terms of a sword or even a punch. Even then, it's easy to miss the stomp move, as this game doesn't have a tutorial, and you wouldn't know you could do it if you didn't check the options menu. Speaking of easily missable moves, as you play, you'll charge your blaze gauge, and when it's full, it allows you to unleash all of your weapons for max firepower. Honestly, this game has a slight problem with not exploiting certain things, to the point where I had no idea what certain things did until I looked them up, and even then, it was harder to find than you would think. So at the top left you have various gauges, one of these being your energy gauge. This is used to boost around, as well as being used to fire energy weapons. Next to your energy gauge, you'll find your health cells and your health gauge. Your health cells are your stored health, with your health gauge representing your current cell. If you're damaged, your gauge will go down, but it will regenerate up to itself. Your health gauge can also take the place of your energy gauge when it's empty, allowing you to boost for longer while draining your health. To boost your max health as well as your other capabilities, you'll have to find power cells hidden in each level, sometimes in boxes, sometimes in enemies, and sometimes in the other in-game collectibles, POWs. POWs are kept in cages in each level, and you can free them by destroying the cage with something considered as light ammunition. This in turn releases two types of hostages: musicians, which can unlock new music for you, and scientists, which will increase your science level, granting you more metal when you beat a level. Your total hostage rescue count will also boost your economy, granting you more money when you beat a level. Some of the POWs can be pretty well hidden, and my tip for you is to search the roofs of buildings. Furthermore, you can also sometimes find whole weapons by themselves for you to pick up instead of purchasing. This all may have sounded like a bit much, but this game is no collectathon. I just wanted to make sure I explained them since the game doesn't. Like, at all. Maybe it was all detailed in the original game's manual. This game really suffers from not explaining itself or its systems, and I honestly found myself a little confused at first before I got used to it. But once I did, this game really fell into place for me. The levels keep a good variety of destroying all the things in boss type missions, and it's really fun to equip different weapon loads to see what you can do. Having said that, this game does have its problems. On top of everything else, levels don't have checkpoints. Now, levels themselves are really short, but they can get really irritating when some of the bosses have instant kill moves. Another thing is that this game is pretty short overall, easily beatable in a day. In its defense, it's obviously the type of game meant to be played again and again, as once you beat it for the first time, you unlock a lot of extras, including a new collectible, 2 new modes, unlockable costumes, and if you're getting high scores, special gimmick weapons unlike anything else. And as it's FromSoft tradition, you could even get the Moonlight Greatsword. Metal Wolf Chaos isn't going to appeal to everyone, but I think it's definitely worth looking at. Though simple and flawed in a lot of ways, it's also somehow really endearing despite it all. A flash in the pan to be sure, but a really good flash that some people may end up loving. So if you like mech games in America, believe in your own justice, and go try Metal Wolf Chaos.